Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole.
What's up, Butterfly?
Hey, Firefly, what's going on?
Well, I'm stoked to be doing another episode. I don't know what we're talking about today. Did you have an idea for our rabbit hole that we're going to cruise down today?
Well, I don't think we can ever run out of rabbit holes.
I know. That's why I always ask, because I come up with them sometimes, you come up with them sometimes, but that's what's cool is I don't think we're going to run out of material because there's so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about. And, I think we're going to talk about a few things today, but something that sort of caught my attention. I was out walking my neighborhood this morning and I saw a lot of these little miniature Ukraine flags on people's like mailboxes and stuff. And I was like, what's up with that? And
I support World War III.
I support World War III. And then I see, and then I come across a house and it's got like this little box and there's a sign on it and it had like a pouch with all the little flags and it said, take one, they're free. So obviously this person was like the ringleader of the neighborhood and they were trying to like get everybody to
You know what it's kind of too? It's kind of like, who am I going to shun? Because if you walk by and you don't take one, I'm going to shun you.
I know, but you know what? When I see, like, when I'm walking around or driving around and I see, somebody's got like the Ukraine flag or like the BLM flag or whatever it is, all it does is like it says support Ukraine, but you're not supporting Ukraine by doing that. All you're doing is like showing your neighbors that you're just a dumbass because you're basically
It's cult programming.
Yeah,
it totally is. It's kind of like the Elon thing.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going to go and I'm going to vandalize
a Tesla dealership.
Yeah. And it's like people behave based on what the media kind of tells them to do.
I know.
And they kind of don't really question anything. They just kind of go, oh, okay.
I mean, it's just like when I see those things, I just think, wow, you're just really ignorant. Like you don't really know what's going on.
You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like if somebody is like a big Hulk Hogan fan and they think that wrestling's real.
Yeah.
And they're just like, Hulk Hogan. And you're just like, but wrestling's fake. And they're just like, okay.
No, I saw it on TV.
Hulkamania.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's still people that have like BLM stuff out, like they don't understand.
Hasn't that been kind of debunked?
I thought so. Like they don't understand that this was all controlled by Marxist leaders or, I guess possibly maybe some of these people like think communism is good and they want our country to turn communistic.
And that's just what they're told because I kind of, from what I gleaned, communism kind of works out bad every single time.
It kind of turns out bad in the end. And in the middle, and the beginning too.
The beginning kind of sucks too. I mean, there's not really any part that's good. It doesn't sound awesome.
I think they kind of talk people into it because they're kind of like, everybody's going to get something. It's like the Oprah shows where she's like, you get a TV, you get a TV, you get,
You know what it is?
Everybody gets something.
People are like devastated with the notion of like having to work.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like,
right.
Oh, what? I would actually have to work?
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that.
So they think when, the TV says, you're going to get all this free stuff. They think that sounds like a good idea. They don't ever stop. They don't stop and think like, well, where's the free stuff going to come from? Like, who's paying for it?
Yeah. And
you know what my mom always taught me when I was a kid? There is no such thing as a free lunch.
That's right.
She used to tell me that.
It's true.
Even the free lunches,
it's costing you something.
Somebody's paying for that.
And how long is your free lunch going to last? Pretty soon it's going to get cut off.
Yeah.
And you better, getting back to kind of what I think you're kind of saying too, is you better toe the line.
Mm-hmm.
You better say what we tell you to say. Otherwise, free lunch is ixnay on the hombre.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of like the gist of it. Like people are like, okay, I'll say whatever I got to say, but you'll just keep giving me money.
They want the freebies.
They want the freebies. They don't really question things.
No, I think it's kind of short-sighted too, because they might think, oh, this is going to benefit me now, but they don't realize, like, maybe a few years from now, they're going to be the ones that are paying for the freebies,
Could be.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't want to get stuck in that trap. But I think this all kind of goes back to the whole idea of that people are followers.
Yeah, I
People
think so.
people are followers and they're easily influenced. And I think one of the main um, topics we wanted to kind of touch on, and the rabbit hole we wanted to go down, was these influencers.
Yeah.
What's up with these influencers?
Well, first of all, like when I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, nobody was an
Influencer.
influencer.
Yeah, like now, like you can be an influencer. Like you can, like when I grow up, I want to be an influencer.
That's kind of like
It sounds kind of gross.
that's this new brainwashing. Like, have you seen the interviews that the actress in the new Snow White does?
Oh, you know what?
She's like snow, kind of brown.
We're gonna have I think we have to have an episode about that,
Yeah, and
because
I
she's
think
kind of like in everything now. Didn't
I
we
didn't
talk
want to
about
open
that?
up a whole can of worms,
Yeah.
but what I noticed is like, she's like, I'm a leader. And, she's like, Snow White is like, such an antiquated, like, paradigm. She's like the prince and in love. And it's like all of those things, like, oh, is that so horrible? I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like that was kind of cool. And it worked out good for 40 billion years of humanity, if that's how far we go back. But like all of a sudden now things are all different.
Uh,
And I feel like she was like talking about, I'm going to be a leader.
mm,
I'm in charge. I'm a boss. And I think that's kind of like what people are being taught now. It's like, I'm just going to be telling people what to do.
hmm
And like, I don't really like remember like thinking that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to like tell people what to do,
Yeah.
regardless of whether I'm clueless and I have no idea where we're going.
Well, this whole like influencer idea always makes me think of like those movies like Mean Girls, and like Mean Girls in real
I
life.
never saw it, but tell me.
But even in real life, I mean, you know how there's those girls that are like in like the cliquey little popular group, and they're really mean and nasty to everybody else.
Oh,
And
that reminds me
know,
of like, I remember back in 1995, I worked at a grocery store. And you know how they have like Cosmopolitan magazine?
Mhm.
I don't even think they make that
I
anymore.
used to love that magazine.
Yeah. So I
It
remember,
was like so racy.
I know, I remember so distinctly back in 1995, I was working at a grocery store and it was like 4 in the morning and I was like stocking the shelves and the new Cosmo said, Wyatt pays to be a bitch. And I was just like, that's so lame.
Yeah.
Because now you have these women kind of acting like full-on bitches all the time, thinking it's cool.
Yeah.
And it's like the way to be.
Well,
And as a dude, it sucks.
yeah. And it's like, and those are the influencers.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I don't know. I just think it's weird because I see some of these huge influencers, and I'm thinking, okay, what are their credentials? You know what I mean? Like they're supposed to be like influencing everybody and telling everybody all this, like whatever we're supposed to do, like people follow them. But it's like, why are you taking all this advice from like
It's not organic.
Yeah.
Like these people, like to me, if it was organic, an influential person would be somebody who has a lot of influence.
hmm
And it's kind of like something that's like after the fact, you're an influencer. You don't like start off being labeled an influencer because you haven't actually influenced anybody yet.
So that seems to be sort of what's happening though. And I don't know. I guess because I'm sort of like suspicious and conspiracy minded,
Yeah.
We
both kind of do that.
We're kind of like that. We're kind of bad like that. But I think both of us
We should just hurry up and get on board with Ukraine. And we should go start like keying some Teslas, even though there's cameras.
They'll see us. But I started getting a little bit suspicious about these huge influencers. And, we just had that whole Bindergate thing happen at the White House.
So weird.
They were all just there and they were given these binders. And it's like, okay, why are they at the White House?
They were selected.
Like, why does Kim Kardashian go to the White House? That kind of doesn't make sense to me. Like, what are her credentials to be like running our country?
I still, well, she's like the influencer.
Right.
Like I heard somebody call her the most influential influencer on earth. And
Wow.
you and I have talked about this, like her whole family, like she had uh what's Caitlyn Jenner? Stunning and Brave.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what?
Don't dead name him. I just misgendered him. No, but like so Stunning and Brave is in their family, right? Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh, God.
That was like Stunning and Brave.
Yeah.
And then
Right. They called him stunning or
Yeah,
her, whatever.
her.
I don't even know what it
Like I mean, like talking about it because there's too many like little rules that you have. Like
Yeah.
it's like walking into the bunker when you're playing golf. Like you can't ground the club.
Well,
But
they call themselves them, they, their, whatever. Like,
it's too many rules.
which is like really weird too because it's not grammatically correct.
He's a sick dude who dressed like a chicken. Might have had his what cut off.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
But they like to say them, they, their as their instead of he or her because the only logical thing I could come up with for that, because I don't know, I'm kind of into grammar, like bad grammar really bugs me.
I am too.
And that's not grammatically correct.
I'm a grammar Nazi.
To call one person a they, unless
That's plural.
it's
right?
plural. That would imply that there's more than one of them.
Yeah, so they're like civil.
But
They have several.
that's what I was thinking. Maybe it's because they're like multiple personality disorders.
They're like civil.
And
So they are they.
They are they.
Exactly.
Because,
That's so funny.
I mean, that would make sense. Like,
I guess
you know what
that's
I mean?
why. So next time I call someone a they, I'm going to be like, how many are you?
How many of
How
you
many
there?
are you? Or how many are all of you? But yeah, like, okay, so that was kind of a little tangent, but that was cool. But like I was thinking, so Kim Kardashian,
Yeah,
she's in her family is
a lot of weirdos.
the dude who exonerated OJ, the
Yeah.
Stunning and Brave Bruce,
Yeah,
and then her mom's like full on cult member.
she's like I heard she was like the handler,
Handler.
like the head handler of like a lot of
Yeah.
people.
So I kind of tossed around the idea, just the idea. I'm a bad person. Could Kim Kardashian have been made in a lab?
Oh yeah, did we talk about this?
We
little
did,
bit before?
but I'm
Yeah.
wondering, like, because she's like the influencer. So I'm
They
wondering,
just
like,
made her.
they create her.
They were like, we're gonna have the most influential influencer of
Yeah.
all influencers. We're gonna call her Kim K, and she's gonna influence everybody.
She's the influencer,
We're gonna
and it's
make
like,
her.
and have you
Yeah.
noticed, like, butts have grown in direct proportion to her coming on the scene?
I know.
Like, I watched a girl
She's
walking down the street the other day.
influencing everybody's butts.
Oh my God, I watched a girl walking her dog the other day, and I was just like, okay, your butt is ridiculous. It's
For a dog.
I mean, I'm a dude, and I'm like, okay, that's not hot. It's almost like weird.
It's weird.
And everybody's going for this big fake, like, can I set my beer on your ass? You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
And that's kind of coming from Kim,
Yeah.
and then,
And who do you think decided that should be the thing to do?
why?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I guess there could be some theories, like, I don't know, maybe that's like, when you have a big butt, then you deserve like the bigger dudes, and maybe the bigger dudes are supposed to be the body type for the dudes. I don't know, but it seems like to me she might be like
Manufactured.
because it seems to me like none of these influencers, like Bindergate and like all of, like, when you go on to like Rumble and you go look at like the conservatives, quote unquote, there's all these people thrown at you, and it seems inorganic.
Yeah.
It seems like people are foisted on you for a reason. And I think, like, I kind of understand what you're kind of getting at, maybe, is, are they being paid?
Well, you know
Are they being
what?
paid? And then if they're being paid, do they have like a fence around what they can talk about?
Yeah, that's a good question, and the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are being paid, and it's really no different than mainstream media at this point because mainstream media is selling us a certain narrative. So, like, brought to you by Pfizer or whatever, all the commercials are paid for
Yeah.
by like the drug company that's telling you to take that certain drug and the newscasters who are telling you to go do that certain pokey.
And isn't it interesting that Pfizer is advertised on CNN and Fox?
Mm-hmm.
So wait a minute.
They're all owned by the same people.
Yeah.
And now we've got this whole thing with, alternative media being supposedly free and, not tied to anybody like that. But actually, a lot of them are paid for and bought by these people
You know
too.
who was talking about that was David Icke.
Oh.
Remember, they were talking to David about Alex Jones, and they were like, "What's going on with Alex? He's weird.
Is he sold out?"
Yeah, I mean, we can talk. We need to kind of maybe readdress that. We kind of touched on it, but now they're saying he's actually not Alex. That's a body double, and this guy who's like an expert at looking at two different images, kind of deduced like, oh, that's a different guy. So that could be the case, but David Icke called Alex Jones about 2 years ago and was like, have you noticed there's all these weird people like being foisted on the conservative movement, and they seem like they're mainstream people. And if you look into their background, they're part of all of these mainstream corporations, right? And then now they're being foisted on people. And he talks about the algorithms, and he talks about, so even on Rumble and obviously on YouTube or X, everything comes down to the algorithm and what's foisted on you.
Right.
And so that's how people are influencers, is because they, I think people instinctively will like click on a podcast that's got 14 million views rather than one that's got like 10,000. And the one that's got 10,000
or 20
is probably right.
Or 20, like ours.
Exactly. 20 with no thousand, which is fine. Because
those 20 people are getting the real scoop.
That's how exactly.
We can reach 20 people. We've done our job.
What would you rather do? Would you rather be in a group of millions and millions of people listening to a bunch of lies, or would you rather just be like a few people that are really dealing with kind of like maybe not the truth, but at least asking the questions about what we're being told?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of scary. You really have to use discernment and
it is kind of scary.
Ask a lot of questions. And I always think like when I see an influencer that is like has like millions of followers and they're telling us to do a certain thing, you have to like ask yourself, is this the right thing to be doing? I mean, some of them could be totally right, but the point I think we're trying to make is that they could very well be just as controlled as the mainstream media. So that they're kind of like controlled opposition in some ways.
Yeah.
Because if they're all pushing the same thing and it kind of doesn't.
It seems like they're all just full on Trump Elon supporters too. Like on the Rumble, the new conservatives, they're all just like cheerleading on the Trump Elon show, and so they kind of seem like they're characters in The Apprentice,
They were probably hired or cast in that role.
That's what I'm thinking. And I'm kind of thinking like all of these influencers, they're just kind of like guiding you down the wrong hole. They don't want you to talk about the real thing that's going on, and they never kind of seem to talk about what's at the crux of the problem, because there's a problem.
They get everybody on board with, like, oh, hanging your little Ukraine flag or your BLM or whatever. And people don't even really actually like look into any of those things, like to know that, did you know Ukraine is like the biggest bioweapons lab area that we're sending billions of money to all the time? And did you know that BLM is controlled by Marxist groups they're paid for to get people to burn these buildings down? And
that's weird.
I mean, it's not exactly an organic.
And you can do that. You can do that with influencers too. You can go, okay, who is this person? And you can just go do like a little bit of research. You know who does that good is Amazing Polly.
Oh yeah, she goes down some rabbit holes.
She'll go down rabbit hole. What she'll do too is when there's like a new influencer on the scene, she'll just go, "Who is this person?" And they'll
Yeah.
go, "Wait, that's weird.
It's
Why
weird
was
that they used to be in the CIA.
yeah, and that's weird that they were affiliated with these evil people
Mhm.
and did evil stuff, but now they're like, oh, well, they're on your side."
Now they've turned over a new leaf.
You know who she totally exposed was like, remember the wellness company?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah, that was like a major rabbit hole.
That was crazy
Yeah,
because
a lot.
I
A lot
I
of
kind
those.
of fell for the wellness company being good.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, the wellness company, they're cool.
and then it turned out a lot of them were all just like
Well,
evil. And
so the CEO went and did like a chat, and Amazing Polly was in the chat asking questions.
right.
And he got all flustered because one of the people that funded the wellness company, the creation of it, was affiliated with Blackstone. And Blackstone is like mercs, like paid mercenaries that go and like kill people
Oh
for our
God.
CIA. So like if we want to go take out like some leader in a third world country, we'll like hire Blackstone to go and plus it kind of sounds like Black Rock, and
I know.
it's like
Kind of
that
mixing with her.
stone. It's like,
Yeah.
man, it sounds like they're kind of affiliated. But then so Amazing Polly was like, well, why for a medicine company do you guys affiliate yourself with like these mercs, these like paid assassins? Why? And they got really mad when she did that. And according to her, which I believe, she got doxxed and harassed, and they kind of came after her family and stuff. And that seems kind of weird. If you're
Well,
like a medicine company, you're supposed to be helping people out, and then somebody just comes out and asks a question, and now you're like suddenly sending people to harass them.
they don't like the truth to get out.
No.
That's why it's always suspicious too when information like top secret information gets leaked. You know how that always happens?
Oh, like
Like
what was going on with that signal thing where the guy was like, just happened to be privy to like a Zoom call where they're like deciding to go to war in the Middle East or something.
yeah, like
JD Vance and
these
stuff.
these people that just happen to be in on these meetings, these like top secret meetings, and then somehow somebody just happens to leak some top secret information and it gets all over the news. But then yet there's other information like the Epstein list
That never gets leaked.
and JFK. We're still waiting to hear about like all the redacted stuff.
There's so many that did never get leaked.
That
like how
stuff
about
doesn't get
9/11? What
Yeah.
happened there?
Yeah, how
and
come
then
that didn't get leaked?
that didn't get leaked.
That didn't get leaked.
And then like what didn't get leaked is Vegas.
Yeah,
Vegas kind of got swept under the carpet.
Mhm.
Like it was just like, it was that guy.
yeah, it didn't get leaked.
There was no.
But some of the stuff gets leaked.
Like, I'm wondering if a quote unquote leak is just a script.
Mm-hmm. This is the script that we're following this week on the news.
Because you know how the news has always got like the news cycle now. Like we don't live in that eventful of a world.
No,
but they always have to create.
There's a new crisis like every 3 days now.
Yeah,
or a new pandemic like
because
every other
kind of
month.
settled down. People might like kind of tune out the news a little bit, and what might happen then is maybe people aren't scared and angry.
Yeah,
I think they want us scared and angry.
They definitely want us scared and angry. They want everybody like just in a frenzy.
And if you think about someone who's scared and angry, it's kind of funny to watch them walk around. But that's all you got to do is go walk around.
I think they're running around with their masks on.
That's another thing. Okay, so Ukraine coal seems to be being recycled, right?
Yeah,
but masks seem to be coming back.
I know, it's weird. It's like they made it.
We're done with that.
They made a comeback. I just see one. It's like masks are the new black.
That's right. Exactly. Well, the thing is like
what happens? Is it like a springtime thing?
I don't know. It seems like springtime would be the time when it'd be like less.
Take it off.
You don't really need it, right? But anyways, I digress because I've seen people walking on the beach with 50 miles of nothing around them and they got a mask on. I'm going, I don't know how you even justify that to yourself.
I don't know either, but maybe it is falling from the sky because when I look up and see the chemtrails, then I start going, maybe that
Now,
person,
see,
maybe that person knows something.
that might actually be like sensible.
Yeah.
I might be like, oh, that actually makes sense. But then if you talk to them, they're going to be like, oh, what? Chemtrails? I don't even,
Yeah. They think
So
you're a conspiracy theorist.
that's the other thing that's kind of weird about this behavioral trait is if you ask just a couple of questions,
They can't answer them.
they can't answer them. Like Ukraine. Okay, let's just kind of unpack that for a second. Okay, so we need to go support Ukraine against Russia, right?
Mhm.
So, are there any other places where one country's doing something kind of fucked up to another country? I mean, over the last 50 years, it's probably constantly going on
Mhm.
all around the world,
Mhm.
right? But suddenly we are going to be 100% behind this,
Right.
no matter what. And I don't know, going to war with Russia doesn't sound great,
Right.
It sounds like a long, like unwinnable quagmire.
But they've been our enemy for all throughout history, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it just makes sense that we would keep them as our enemy, even though they had an agreement that Ukraine was not supposed to encroach past that. I think it was the Crimea.
That's right. That came out of the Stalin, Winston Churchill, and who was the other guy that was there? FDR. I'm sorry, FDR.
Yeah. So
that meeting,
they were not
the
supposed
Yalta
to.
meeting, right?
Right. And they reneged on their end of the bargain. So I can see why Putin is bad.
Well, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on. Like, wasn't there like a coup in 2014 where CIA kind of went in there like with George Soros, and George Soros, he is one hideous looking guy.
But he is just a
What
little psychopath.
But he apparently orchestrated this Maidan revolution that took place there. So they put a puppet in there, and then Zelensky was like some comedian who was playing piano with his and walking around in leather chaps and stuff.
Yeah.
And then now he's like a serious warlord.
Did you know that he actually he was an actor who actually played the president on a Ukrainian TV show?
I did hear that. Yeah.
And then now he is the Ukrainian president. That's a little coincidental to me, right? It was almost like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah. Our hypothesis is that everything we're seeing is a TV show and
scripted.
And isn't it kind of weird? Trump also kind of was in a reality show before, too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe these guys are reality show actors for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're playing a part, And I think that's kind of what's going on. Because when you talk to people who are support, you, hey, I got my Ukraine flag. If you try to delve down, okay, well, tell me why you support war in Ukraine, They have all of these platitudes that they've been told by
influencers.
Mm-hmm. And it's all just talking points that a couple of questions kind of completely destroys their narrative. And then they just go, shut up, you're a bad person.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to you.
I remember right when the Ukraine war started, I went out because we were doing Red Pill Corner back then. Remember that? And Red Pill Corner was where we were protesting COVID because we were like, wait, something's weird about COVID, right? Mm-hmm. But then I started seeing, because we were out there for a while, so then they started coming in with the Ukraine thing. Yeah. So I had a sign that said,
infiltrated.
Yeah, I had a sign that said, I'm rooting for Putin. And I just knew that would really make them mad, right? And I remember this girl had her Ukraine sticker on her car, and she had to park kind of far away and just huffing and puffing walked up to me, and I saw her coming. It took her 5 minutes to walk.
She's running after me.
Runs right up to me, and she's all winded, and she goes, "You're a fascist." Called me a fascist. And I was like, "Do you know what a fascist is?" And she just walked away. I don't think she knows.
No, she doesn't.
I don't think so. And so I think these people kind of just get told, this is the new thing. Because did you notice how it went from COVID, Ukraine?
Yeah. Totally. They all changed their little like thing on their social media. Um, I think like this kind of goes back to the basics, which is most people are followers.
They are. And they don't ask any questions.
No,
It's better to just be like, hey, this is the safe play.
they just do what they're told, whether it's mainstream media or alternative media. They're going to do what they're told
And
without looking into it.
I'm thinking these days that's kind of dangerous
It is.
because I think what might be happening is they're being corralled.
We talked about being corralled, I think, on our last episode.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
No.
You know what happens when you get corralled?
Yeah, the next thing you know, you're burgers.
You're a hamburger.
Maybe that's what it's. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I just thought of that. It's Soylent Green for real. Like Soylent Green was a documentary.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But it seems like that's kind of what's going on. Because we've also talked about how people kind of look like zombies.
Yeah.
And we were going to talk about this like on another episode, but remember we were talking about Sirhan?
Yeah. We're going to have to go have a whole thing on mind control, but we can touch on it.
But so maybe these people are mind controlled. Because
Totally.
but maybe now they don't do mind control one at a time.
Mass mind control.
They do mass mind control.
Well, we know they do that because look what happened during the cooties fiasco.
That's right. The cooties.
It was mass mind control.
That's right.
It was.
So therefore,
and now, so I think, do you think it's possible that, you know, the people that got the pokey poke could be being programmed through the pokey poke and like the chemtrails to be mind controlled in a certain direction with certain things, and maybe they like kind of turn up the 5G on certain days, and it's like you know, a little tweak.
And what if, have you seen some of these people who've been vandalizing Teslas? They don't look like Phi Beta Kappas, and they also don't look like there's anyone behind the wheel, no pun intended.
They might be mind controlled,
and I think they get activated.
Yeah.
So I think with the
there's
mind
like
control,
a switch.
I know, and people, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but people might think this is kind of crazy. But that was what happened with Sirhan. He was activated
totally with a pinch.
But so now maybe they can do it with like
5G.
certain 5G or even through their media bubble with certain keywords,
trigger words,
and that triggers them. And so then you see these people just like on camera, like, I will scratch this Tesla. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like you go and they like, I put my Ukraine flag out, and you go kind of talk to them, and they don't really like,
you know, even like images could be the trigger. So like maybe even just seeing the Ukraine flag, which is a really basic design. I mean,
that's weird,
not
right?
real creative, just like yellow and blue. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they see that and they just go, ding, 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 ding. Ukraine. Like it immediately.
Maybe there's like, because, you know, it's kind of like a hydra. The media has all these different like tentacles.
Yeah.
And so people are in different kind of bubbles. What about the people that wear masks?
Well, they're definitely mind control.
But like they kind of took them off for a while. Like there was at least, it seems like, I mean, this could be the Mandela effect, but it seems like there was a time when wasn't really seeing anybody wear masks for a while. But now they're like making a resurgence. So I'm wondering if whatever's like in their media bubble, like there's some keyword, there's like
masks.
Like, I mean, is there a new virus going around or something?
Yes. Right. Because how come all of a sudden, like, they start doing certain things again? These certain behaviors.
You know, there's like about the masks. You said something one time, and I was just thinking about it. It's so funny. I want to ask somebody who's wearing a mask one time. I want to say, no, there's a lot of homeless people, right? So, and the homeless people are kind of like living outside.
Kind of dirty.
They're dirty. They're outside. And a lot of them are close together, and they're not wearing masks. Yeah. They're not wearing masks, but they didn't.
But they're still there.
They didn't die. They did not die. And how that happened, I don't know. It seems kind of. Yeah, I'd like to ask somebody who's wearing a mask that and see what they say.
They probably have a reason. Because reasons.
Reasons. I bet you they would just get really mad.
They do.
They would just be like, shut up. And it's like, well, okay, I will. I'll shut up. But I'm just curious. Like, they didn't have to. And it seems like if you have to wear a mask, right? then there's got to be consequences for not wearing one.
I know.
Homeless
It's
people
gonna be
and plus, homeless people a lot of times like have drug problems. You know what I'm saying?
maybe that's why they're like, maybe their drugs like keep them from catching the
Fentanyl is
like, it's better
it's
than
the new vaccine. That's what's going on. That's how it works. They don't have to wear masks because they're on fentanyl and crack. And that is like it's the wall of protection.
Oh my God. Are we now we might be pushing drugs here.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not saying fentanyl's the way to go, but it might be better than masks.
What we observed.
Apparently, they don't have to wear masks. So that's the thing. Like I see, I see people doing irrational things. I think the Ukraine thing is totally irrational too.
Totally irrational.
Totally irrational. And the attacking Teslas is irrational. Like, okay, first of all, the Tesla thing is kind of even more irrational because you supported Elon before, but now he's bad. And it's like, well, wait a second. How'd that work? Because he was the same guy, and he hasn't really done anything that different.
It was cool when you were buying your electric car.
And the Tesla was like the cult thing to do like 2 years ago.
Totally.
They were rushing to go out and buy especially the Cybertruck and everything.
Have you noticed that so like all the cult that was like rushing to get their Teslas a couple years ago and they thought he was super cool and now they don't? Have you noticed now like it's a different group that's buying Teslas now?
Yeah.
It's almost like he sort of switched over so that he could like market to the other side so he could get everybody to buy it. Yeah, so he got that side to buy his cars and now he's got the other side buying them. The other side that was against his cars before are all like, yeah.
So people buy Teslas as like a political statement.
Yeah, totally.
And now it's kind of changed. And now it's like Trump, Elon cult members are out there buying Teslas.
Yeah. Because like before when I would see somebody driving a Tesla, I'd be like, oh, well, we know which, we know which side of the.
You know what? There's a common denominator. There's a common denominator. All Tesla drivers, it doesn't matter if they're leftists or now cult like Trump, Elon. Every time they get behind the wheel, they think that they're important. And that they don't really have to be courteous. They can cut you off, and they go first.
They're not using that old like 200 million year old animal oil.
We're running out of it.
Yeah, we're running out. They're just plugging into the wall.
Yeah,
they get their power from the wall.
That's another like mind control is the global warming, and like they're just like, oh well, we only have a few years to live.
We're all going to be. Like,
we're all going to die.
This place is going to be fried.
It's like, well, they kind of said that like in 1971.
Yeah. And we're all still here.
We're here still. So, yeah, I think that's actually interesting. I think the influencers, Elon's an influencer.
Oh, he is.
Elon's an influencer.
Now, is Kim K actually a bigger influencer than Elon?
I think so.
Because of her butt?
I think so. Someone told me like 70% of internet users are pretty much just using it for porn.
Oh, God.
So, like most...
So they all like know about her past.
Yeah. Like that was what made her famous was like a sex tape, right?
Yeah.
Was that real?
I bet that was all staged too.
Because she was taking a picture with a robot, like suggesting like sleep with your robot. That was like last week.
Oh yeah, right? She's trying to push that idea now.
Yeah.
Like,
so
you don't need an actual person in your life.
What if that Ray J dude was a robot?
Oh God.
And so that was robot sex, and that was what they were pushing.
Way back then.
Yeah. Just kind of planting the seed, like get ready for robot sex.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think our point and our rabbit hole today was, you got to watch out for those influencers.
Yeah. Does influencer mean good? Not really.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, these days, I think if you're not popular, you kind of want to listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at like somebody who has millions of views, probably don't want to listen to that.
Right.
I almost am there.
Yeah. It's going that direction.
I'm like, okay, this person only has 24 views. I'm going to go listen.
I want to listen.
I'm going to go check them out because they're obviously being like shadow banned and no one's finding them. Why is that?
Right.
Because it seems like if you're actually saying truth, You're getting shadow
They don't want
banned
you
and
to hear.
yeah,
I think I told you, I started this Instagram page. I guess right around the cooties time, and I started it just post like funny memes and stuff about the cooties,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like within like a couple days I had like 50 followers, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then like a couple days later I had like 100 more, and then like a few more days later I had like another couple hundred, and I was like, wow, like
You're
at
growing.
this rate, like in 6 months I'm going to have like 20,000 followers, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
exponentially it was getting like bigger every day.
yeah.
And then it got up to around like 800, and all of a sudden I didn't get any followers for like a week. I got like 2 followers the next week. And then like another week went by and I got like 2 more. That seems a little
Doesn't
suspicious to
feel
me.
organic.
It doesn't feel organic.
It feels kind of like maybe it's being throttled.
It feels a little weird. Like how could
Then,
it go that fast and then all of a sudden it just like stops?
but then how do you also have like just Johnny come lately on the scene, kind of saying Captain Obvious stuff, and he's got like 25 million followers?
Well, what you just said, when I saw that happen, I was like, okay, so how is this person who's basically doing kind of the same thing I was doing,
Yeah,
how do they have like 200,000 followers?
yeah. And
Something seems wrong about that.
they're always kind of like watching what real people say and then just kind of mimicking it.
Hmm.
And then they're suddenly
That person probably was taking my memes.
totally, I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
And like they're going, oh, well, this is what real people are saying.
Hmm.
So let's hijack their stuff
Hmm.
and then we'll have our influencers kind of hijack that.
And put the algorithm in the direction we want it to go.
Yeah,
And
because then
control
what
the
they'll do is,
narrative
okay, so like let's say
with
you're
our
kind of,
advertisers.
yeah, so like you're talking cooties time, right? So you were probably posting stuff like, hey, these shots kind of seem no good.
Yeah. And like, like pictures of like a chain link fence, and like saying like wearing a mask is like putting up a chain link fence to keep mosquitoes out.
That was a good one.
Stuff like that.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like really bad because
Yeah.
then people might say, so are you saying wearing a mask is doing me no good? Well, it's not doing you not only no good, but it's actually bad for you. But yeah, like they don't really like that. But you're coming out and you're saying stuff like that. So what I think they do is they go, okay, and I think they created a whole controlled opposition based on
What people were saying.
like people like you and I were coming out in the beginning of the cooties,
Uh-huh.
like right in the beginning, and saying something weird going on. Not sure what the hell's going on, but by March or April of that year, we were starting to kind of get the gist of it. And they were kind of, so I think that our narrative got hijacked.
Hmm.
And then it said, okay,
Some people are asking questions.
let's have our influencers kind of manage
Guide
this.
this. Yeah.
Yes. So you're right. Okay, here we'll even let you say COVID is no good and the shots are no good. But what we're gonna not let you say is who's really behind it, and is this an experiment, and what's really going on. So that's, I think, why they do that. I think that's why they kind of monitor things.
Yeah.
So maybe what was going on in the beginning is they were kind of letting you kind of spread your wings and fly, 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 just for a little while. But then once
to get me into it.
yeah, and also just to kind of get the gist of what you were saying, because I think they're constantly having to kind of research and go, what are real humans saying?
They're like, oh, these people are catching on to this and they're saying this, so we need to control this.
Yeah.
Controlled.
And so how do they control it? They hijack it. They say the same thing, but they have one of their influencers say it. And then now everybody's going and listening to that influencer. And so that influencer takes that information and kind of steers it back into cult friendly area.
Yeah. And they sprinkle in the little ideas that they want you to know about. And they let you see some of the stuff that you were looking at, but they kind of take away some of the other stuff and hide some of the other things that you were trying to say. And so that,
because like why? Because have you ever noticed how every time, like if you think about the analogy of a rabbit hole, right? And we're actually digging down into a hole, it's kind of like going under Paris. All of a sudden there's like all of these like catacombs down here, and they all kind of join together. And you realize that every rabbit hole, you go, wait a second, there's like common denominators in all of our rabbit holes. And I think that's what they really don't want people doing.
That is such a good point.
connecting dots. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They
And
don't
I know they have
listen.
people that are called like the dot connector, or I can't remember who that is, but it's like the dot connector is like their show. But they're kind of saying, well, this is how the dots connect. But that might be even kind of a psyop because
They'll let you connect a couple dots over here. Meanwhile, there's some dots down this other rabbit hole that they're like steering you away from, so you don't connect those dots.
like Alex was doing that. I saw just the other day, Alex Jones was doing like a dissertation and he was like doing, let's do a history review on whatever subject. And I was thinking about it because I'm kind of convinced he's controlled opposition now.
I think he is.
I think he is. And
He's not the OG Alex that he used to be,
no,
if he
some
ever
people think
was.
it's a different guy.
Or maybe we've just graduated from Alex.
He could have always been that. He could have always been kind of like the what do they always say? They say, "Oh, they're the kiddie pool." So
Mhm.
they got you playing in the shallow end, and I'm going out into the deep end, and they're going, "No, don't swim there. Come back over here to the shallow end." But the deep end is where you're going to kind of get the truth,
Mhm.
But I think Alex kind of keeps everybody in the kiddie pool,
Mhm.
and the kiddie pool is Chi-Coms and those types of
Yeah.
narratives, and you know, um, this kind of like left right paradigm.
Yeah.
I've noticed Alex is getting into that.
Yeah, he's like super all gung ho on. I mean, he's basically the cheerleader for Trump and Elon. And he used to just be kind of not really into any government leader,
Well, he
right?
was he was always kind of calling attention to the Hegelian dialectic, right? You
Hmm.
ever heard of that term?
Hmm.
And the Hegelian dialectic is like the manufactured, not organic, this group versus this group. And they do that so you're always constantly fighting. It's divide and conquer, right?
Hmm.
Um, that is what they're kind of espousing now,
Right.
you
It's
know?
kind of weird.
So I think that's what controlled opposition is. So I think the gist of this episode, this was a great episode. And I mean we might have to touch on it again
Hmm.
because it's what are influencers and why are they influencers ahead of time?
Yeah. And what are their qualifications, right?
Well,
How did they like? Did they go to school and they got a certificate? Now I'm an influencer.
Alex Jones is well endowed, and he also had sex with lots of women. I
When he
think
was
that was,
14.
yeah, I think that was his qualification. And then Stu, he was talking about how he's got a underwear model body.
I know.
So I think there are some qualifications for influencers.
Probably.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Because if we're looking at Kim as the major influencer, it sounds like influencers have like an anatomical criteria.
Anatomical criteria for sure. Yeah.
Well, that was cool.
That was awesome.
So maybe next time, we don't usually say next time, but why don't next time we consider going down that one rabbit hole that we were talking about before? What was the one we were talking about?
Mind control.
How it's mind control, but not like one person.
It's mass mind control.
It's mass mind control.
I think that's a great topic to get into next time.
Because that would be what's kind of going on.
Yeah, that's a good rabbit hole.
Cool. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Let's do it. That was a good one.